My takes might be in preseason form too, just like the Steelers are in preseason form right now. Like, I don't really take back completely what I said on my initial reaction post-game vid, because that's what the game felt like in the moment. That's what our quarterback situation felt like in the moment. But now that we get further removed from Saturday, I think a lot of it just had to do with expectations, because we know the overlying factor in all this is it's preseason still, right? That's the thing you could say all the time, right? It's just preseason. Don't worry about it. It's preseason. But I still think we should have looked better than that on offense and on defense, particularly in the second half. I actually got to give some credit to the first team offense for those first couple series. They look pretty good. It should have looked better than what it was all around out there on Saturday, right? But it was expectations this whole offseason, right? We're talking up the offense and all the new changes. We got the new coordinator, Arthur Smith, probably one of the best coordinators that are out there right now, at least based off resume. Probably the best guy that was available to us. So home run hire right there, bringing in Arthur Smith. He can only be better than Matt Canada. No matter what he does, he'll be an improvement over Canada. We got the new quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Russell Wilson, he's a Hall of Famer, 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, yada, yada, yada. Justin Fields, top 10 pick in the draft a few years back, talented, has the single season rushing record for a quarterback. And he's our backup. We got him for a 6th-round pick. That combined with Arthur Smith, we got the new O-line. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be improved. But in these last 2 preseason games, specifically this last one where we got to see Russell Wilson, who's the presumed QB1, play for 4 series, and then Justin Fields for the whole rest of the game, it looked a lot of the same and sometimes worse. And I'm just like, bro, we did all this. We did all this offseason. We did the big quarterback change. We fired Canada mid-season and ran with Faulkner and Mike Sullivan for like those last 6 games as our co-offensive coordinators. We did all this, and then we ultimately say, you guys aren't good enough. We're going to hire Arthur Smith. Draft some new O-linemen. And this is what the offense looks like. Like, man. Man, it still looks like this? What is going on? Like, what is going on? At least with Mason, bro, we were putting up 30 points. And then we still, even though he's sitting out there in free agency, we get to see him for those last 4 games of last year. Basically turn the season around. Save the season. Get us into the playoffs. Have us finish 10-7. We say, you're still not good enough. We're going to go this direction. We're going to sign Russ. Kenny wasn't happy about that. Then we bring in Fields as the backup. And Mason had to move on. But I'm just like, bro, we had that guy just sitting here wanting to come back. Putting up 30 points a game and going 3-0. Looking good in the playoff game too. Okay. We're moving off of 2. We're moving off of Mason. We're moving off of Kenny. This is the direction. Russ, Fields, new coordinator, new O-line. It's going to be better. Let's have faith. It's going to be better. All these changes, it's going to be better. Expectations. Because after seeing how Russ and the offense looked in that, that first run where Russ was out there, what was it, 4 series? After seeing that, and my expectations being like, we'll at least get 1 touchdown. Hey, we're going to move the ball up and down the field. Maybe we get a field goal. We should at least get 10 points in these first 4 series with Russ, right? Paws missed the field goal. I guess we should have had 3, but part of that was due to the Mitch Trubisky pick, which gave us good field position. So after I saw Russ go out there, I'm like, man, bump that. Let's go with Fields. If the offense is going to look like this, if the offensive line is going to protect the way that they're going to protect, if Russ is going to check it down like that, let's just get Fields out there. He'll at least provide us with the athleticism, doing stuff on the run. All that dynamic stuff that Fields can bring to the table, that ceiling that he could bring, that upside. And it didn't look bad with Fields. First couple series, we were able to get 3 right before half, puts together a nice little drive. But in the second half, the offense looked worse with Fields than what it did with Russell Wilson. And then I just threw my hands up and was like, okay, I give up. I didn't like what I saw from the offense with Russ. So I was like, okay, let's go to the next guy. Let's see what Fields can do. Maybe he is actually our QB1. He would be the better fit for this offense. Looks worse than with Fields. And I'm just like, man, I don't know what to do. But again, it goes back to expectations. Whenever I rewatched the game today, thinking I was going to see an absolute shit show out there, and for the most part, it wasn't good. But it wasn't as bad as I originally remembered. So for today's rewatch, I had different expectations. And my takeaway as I sit here, middle of the day on Monday, is we'll be fine. We'll actually be fine. I don't think Russ looked as bad as I initially thought. He had a couple nice throws. The one to Pickens down the sideline was actually closer to a catch than I originally thought. So the challenge wasn't as bad from Tomlin as I originally thought either. I didn't like some of the check downs, but at the same time, you could say, who gives a fuck? It's preseason. You look at the Chiefs, they're 0-2. Bengals 0-2. We're 0-2. So maybe we're actually in good company being 0-2. I think one of you guys in the comments, it was either on last vid or the vid before, said for a couple of our Super Bowl teams, we went 0-3 in the preseason. So that is like just the overlying factor we still always need to consider. But I do still think the offense should have looked better than what it did. And the defense should have looked better than what it did, particularly in the second half. But those guys are our second and third stringers. They shouldn't even be seeing the field. At least our starting defense, I thought, held up their end of the bargain. Back to Russ, though. O-line really didn't give him time on some of those sacks. Maybe he could have stepped up in the pocket on one of them, but not the end of the world. I think Russ, whenever you compare him to Fields and just how the offense looked, yeah, it was conservative with Russ, but he looked more in control. Whereas with Fields, with a couple of those borderline picks, that illegal play where he caught the ball and tried to pass it, it just looked a little out of control. I think Fields was more inconsistent with his accuracy too. So I think we'll be fine. Russ is the clear QB1 in my opinion. Like, there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But some analysts out there, some people in the mainstream are still trying to push for Fields. But after watching yesterday's game, after watching Fields so far in the preseason, I just think they're flat out wrong.
Justin Fields should start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 preseason games in and 2 weeks to the season. I think it's obvious that Justin brings more good than bad in comparison to Russ. The sacks, I would disagree that they're all on Russ or all on the offensive line, excuse me. Here's my pushback, and the tape is going to say, Coach Tomlin says that's not how we operate. I think that's the biggest issue right now. The Russ that we saw isn't operating this offense, and they're certainly not contenders with the Russ that we saw from this past weekend. There's a lack of consistency.
Like, what are they watching? Fields was just too inconsistent. Russ looked to be in control, even though it still didn't look like what we would have wanted. No picks, clean game, didn't throw the ball in harm's way, didn't put the ball on the ground. None of that with Russ. None of that. In fact, we almost had the nice throw to Pickens be a completion. Like, that would have been a nice little throw down the field. So I think you have to go with Russ for week 1. There's no doubt about it. He's QB1. And here's hoping it looks better than what it looked like on Saturday. And it should. I don't know if this was supposed to be the dress rehearsal for the starters. Typically it is. Typically it's not the last preseason game. But I do think Russ should get back out there for game 3 of the preseason, and some of these starters should on offense too. Actually, our whole starting unit on offense should be out there. Defense, we don't need to see the usual suspects. We don't need to see TJ, Cam. I don't even need to see Patrick Queen. I don't need to see JPJ. All those, the top 5 or 6 starters on defense, we don't need to see out there. But offense, they could use another run. I don't think Russ is going to be the issue. If anything, the O-line was more concerning, and that run game may be more the issue. And a lot of that pertains to how the offensive line looked because Najee, again, was running into a brick wall. He made the most of one play and got us that first down, kept the series going. But outside of that, for that first team unit, run game was not helping out Russ, was not helping out the offense. Now let's get to injuries real quick before I sign off. Jaylen Warren with the hamstring. He's going to be out a few weeks, might be questionable for week 1. That's fine. We can make it work with Najee Harris, Cordarrelle Patterson, and even one of these other running backs that have been playing in the second half of these preseason games. I like Edwards. Maybe this opens up a chance for him to make the team at least early on. Obviously, when Jaylen Warren gets healthy, we're bumping whoever our third running back is in favor for Jaylen Warren. But I'm not in a rush to get Jaylen Warren back because that hamstring can keep nagging as the season goes on. So I want him back 100% whenever he is back. So if it means he misses the first 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, so be it. But that is a bummer, no doubt, because even when he got the ball in the preseason, like it was a dump off from Russ. He somehow almost made that, was it 2nd and 13 or 3rd and 13, a first down just off that. Dudes are just bouncing off him. Yeah, like he's in the prime of his career. I think he's due for a career year, but let's not rush him back from injury. Nate Herbig might be out for the season with a torn rotator cuff. That's a bummer. Like I always wanted to go with Frazier as the starter at center, but Herbig does have some really nice versatility on this offensive line. Can play center, can play either guard position, so that's not helpful. Peyton Wilson, he left the game. They're saying it was a concussion. Not a good injury, but I think we all would agree a better injury than something with his knees, or like it looked like he was pulling at his pec. Remember TJ got like that pec injury. He was out for half the season. So just like with Jaylen Warren, make sure Peyton Wilson is good for the regular season. I know he could use the reps in preseason being that he's a rookie and everything, but let's not rush him back. Make sure his concussion's good and completely over with before we get him back out on the field. And Broderick Jones, was it just poor play with him, or was he dealing with something? Because Broderick, that was not good. I know I was making the excuses for him the night of the preseason game, being that it's preseason. Broderick don't care about preseason. He played in too many big games in Georgia. And if you look at his preseason tape last year, he was pretty bad too. But then we got to see him when the games mattered, and Broderick Jones looked like that first-round pick that we drafted him to be. But, yeah, you still got your teammates out there, man. Like, you still got to be trying to protect the quarterback and the guys behind you. Like, you still got to look out for them. Like, it's one thing to have your tape be bad for you, but being an offensive lineman, you're still protecting others behind you, like the quarterback and the running backs and stuff. So, I don't know what the deal is with what the deal was with Broderick Jones there. No clue, because that was really bad. That was really, really bad. But I think that's it in terms of today's show here. Not much more news on Ayuk right now. Garofalo said that they really haven't talked over the weekend. So maybe that's a sign in the right direction that he could be getting traded again. And obviously Steelers are the only team out there that's willing or looking to trade for Ayuk. There's that. But, not much new information. That saga just needs to end. It just needs to be over. Because even hearing that, even knowing this new information, it's just like, okay, make a decision, bro. Like, let's just, come on. We got to find out where you're playing one way or another. We got the last preseason game coming up. We're a couple weeks away from the start of the regular season. Make a decision, bro. Like, I'm so over this story. And that's why we didn't lead off with this or talk about it for that much for today's show on a Monday. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on QB1. If you guys rewatched the preseason game, if you guys have a new perspective on it, a couple days removed, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But stay chilling, and peace.